Hey everyone, welcome to This is My Offer series from AWS. My name is Chinmay Joshi. I'm industry partner lead at AWS. And today I have O9 Solutions with me. I have two speakers from O9, SP and Sean. So I would like to invite them to introduce. So thanks both of you for joining. And over to you, SP and Sean, for introduction.
Okay, thanks, Chinmay, for having us. So my name is Stijn-Pieter, OSP, based out of Amsterdam, Senior Vice President within Online Solutions, and I look after industry strategy for consumer products globally.
And my name is Sean, also based in Amsterdam. Currently, very sunny weather here. But yeah, I'm leading our what we call go-to-market for the consumer products vertical.
Thanks, SP. Thanks, Sean. So let's start by introducing O9 to our audience. So, can you tell us a little bit about O9?
Yeah, sure. So in short, in my O9 delivers what we call a mission-critical supply chain and decision-making platform. So if you look at planning today in an organization, it's one of the most important processes in any business, if you will. But very oftentimes, that planning is what we call happening in silos. There's a commercial team, there's a financial team, there's a supply chain team, all working in different silos, making more or less standalone decisions without really connecting the dots. And on top of that, data is very often sitting in spreadsheets, right? Or in the heads of some of the planners. And we call that tribal knowledge. And as a result, answering very simple questions like, hey, assume your demand is going up with 10%. Can you support that demand? Yes or no? And if so, at what cost? Takes very often days or weeks to answer, with a lot of what we call value leakage as a result. And at O9, we are transforming those silos into what we define as enterprise-wide integrated business planning by more or less seamlessly integrating the commercial, financial, and supply chain planning teams by creating what we define a digital twin or an end-to-end representation of the value chain. More about that later, but that's in short the description of O9.
Thanks, Sean. That's really interesting. And look, there are other planning solutions available in the market. So I think it'll be interesting to understand how does this all started, and what was really thought behind creating a solution like this.
Sure, let me provide a bit of perspective on that, right? So O9 was founded in 2009, but only went to market in 2014. And we were really founded on the premise that with new technologies such as modern cloud-based architectures, GraphQL-based modeling, we could truly address leading companies' most complex planning and decision-making problems and have a positive impact on both the planet as well as on the profit of our customers, of course. And prior to going to market, we spent quite some time developing the platform and testing this modern day architecture. And in 2014, the initial go-to-market was truly based on the United States. Since then, we have expanded into Europe and other major markets such as Japan, Korea, in 2018. And to date, we're currently around 2,700 people globally. In 2020, we had our first investment round, and we have now done three since. So KKR, General Atlantic, and Generation Investment Management are minority stakeholders in O9, and we're currently valued at 3.7 billion US dollar. Today, we're very proud to serve around 170 clients worldwide, many of them being the largest global organizations. For example, we work with industry leaders in food and beverage, fashion and apparel, telecom, high tech, as well as renewable energy. And in every industry we serve, we have landed the number one, two, or three of companies within that industry and have delivered strong value, with the benchmark being $1 billion, as well as many hundreds of millions as such.
Thanks, SP. I think with the customers that you have acquired so far, what do you think O9's mission in terms of transforming the decision making for these customers, considering what we are going to see in the future?
Yeah, let me take that, Chinmay. So as I briefly indicated earlier, right, what the O9 platform does is with this digital brain or digital twin, which is sometimes really a buzzword, right? But what we do with that digital brain is we build an end-to-end representation of the entire value chain of an organization, leveraged again for that integrated planning and decision making, right? So if you look at the current state, most of the large companies, they have a large ERP system, right, which is used for transactions and execution. But that ERP system is typically not containing any intelligence or insights, and therefore it can't really act as the digital brain of an enterprise. It's more or less a system of record for transactional data. The online digital brain takes that and adds a layer of intelligence to that transactional data and execution layer in that ERP system. And think of that as almost like the human blood flow system, right? So it's a minimum requirement to have to function essentially, but you really need a brain to tell it what to do and when. So the brain of a company that can't really function in silos, right? It has to be integrated. So the digital brain of O9 incorporates all the core supply chain planning functions, as I said earlier, right? So different functions in supply chain, and does that to predict the demand, create a forecast, get a supply chain response, model all the constraints, as well as sustainability metrics, which is very important these days. Then do the demand supply match, does scenario planning, ultimately to translate all of that into a P&L for decision making, with all the necessary details down to the contribution margin, if you will.
So with these capabilities, right, I'm sure that you have seen changes in terms of how the planning has changed, and I think we are set to with the Gen AI coming up, and with the so much data available in the cloud, we are set to see more changes in this particular area. So what are really top themes that you are seeing in when we talk about this AI driven transformation?
Yeah, so let me share a bit of a perspective on how we truly drive successful planning transformations and some of the lessons learned, right? So what's really key. And first is, as Sean was already alluding to, it's really around planning data, right? We already talked about that to do planning decision making, we need data, and most of that is actually maintained outside of ERP systems. So for example, we learned that 80% of the data that's used in planning and decision making today is tribal knowledge, and it's stored in spreadsheets and sits in the heads of planners. So the second is around policy driven and data driven change. Right? So policies play a significant role in driving change. So clear policies and cycle over cycle visibility into performance and adherence are essential for effective change management and driving continuous value. Right? Third is around out-of-the-box solutions and flexibility. So we often get asked about the balance between using out-of-the-box solutions and the need for flexibility. Now, for each industry that we operate in, and today that's around 27, right? We have developed industry reference templates, and these templates help our clients get up and running very quickly. However, adaptability is also crucial. Right? So as businesses evolve or new data sources emerge, they need the ability to model these changes without resorting to Excel for these use cases, right? And we see this happen all too often. And then four is around scalable architecture. So this is really around the ability again to adapt to business changes and integrate new data sources. And lastly, strategic focus, right? So we really help focusing our clients on implement these key themes effectively and ensuring that we really balance time to value with investments that are being made, right? Now, these five themes, they truly provide a framework for transforming our clients' planning processes and ultimately enabling them better decision making and supporting their growth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could not agree more with you. I mean, I agree on everything, but specifically on planning data being in different systems, siloed, Excel sheet, tribal knowledge. I mean, planning data spread all over is the common theme that we have seen across industries, whether it is automotive, manufacturing, or retail CPG. And also, I think the need for scalable and flexible architecture, having out of the box functionality, but at the same time, giving user option to customize and configure pretty quickly is certainly need of the hour. So with that, right, how do you really use AI to drive these changes and the transformation so that customer is prepared to predict and plan for any crisis or any complex supply chain scenarios?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, Chinmay, because AI is, of course, again, a buzzword used by many companies essentially to cover whatever topic. But so if we take a step back, right, as we discussed, for many of those companies, answering even a simple question takes a lot of time, right? So I gave the example in my earlier answer, but also think about an example such as, hey, if my supplier is disrupted and cannot deliver for the next 2 weeks, which demand will be impacted, right? Which of my clients cannot have their products? And how do I shape my demand for my most strategic clients so that they still get some of the products? Those are very important questions. Answering those questions takes a lot of time. Again, days, sometimes weeks. And that's because of the fact that a lot of the data that's needed to make those decisions is tribal, right? Sitting in spreadsheets, sitting in offline spreadsheets, sitting in people's hats, and so forth. So if you look at this in a supply chain context, right? Data is typically everything such as a forecast or an order, but knowledge is really something that tells you something about the quality of an order or the quality of a forecast. So that's something different, right? And to make an example for that, let's say I am a supply chain planner and I need to make an allocation decision, and I have two forecasters. One is SP, one is you, Chinmay. And I know from working with you in the past that SP is a sandbagger and he always overestimates his forecast just to make sure that he gets all the products. And I know from working with you that you have a very accurate forecast. So right now, if my demand is constrained, if my supply is constrained and I need to make an allocation decision, I'll likely give it to you because you have an accurate forecast anyway. That's typically what we call tribal knowledge. It's in my head, I know it, but it's nowhere in the enterprise, right? It's not digitized. So the whole idea is that we need to turn this tribal knowledge into what we call digital knowledge, and then use that to optimize and make further and better decisions, if you will. That's the important part of this.
Thanks, Sean. Very exciting. So I think we have covered the O9, how the O9 platform is, and your mission and how you're helping customers in detail. I'm sure that our audience are interested to see the O9 platform and how it looks like. And as always, I mean the visual demo is definitely conveys a lot more. So if it's possible, we would like to see a demo on this particular episode.
Sure, and by all means. So what we brought today is a short 2 minute video where we actually show how we are applying AI in the platform, right? So in this example, the starting point is where planner asks the platform to evaluate a scenario where demand goes up in Q3 by 20%. And to support the planner, the question really invokes what we call a so-called recipe, where we have industrialized the knowledge of planners in the O9 platform. Right. So in other words, the platform will now ask the planner a couple of clarifying questions to ensure proper execution. And the first question was here, hey, do you want to create a new version of the base plan? And we have actually answered that we don't want that to happen, right? So we want to create a new version of the plan. And then as we continue, we will actually asking it to show, for example, the best fit forecast report. After then, the platform comes back and the recipe will actually ask us what edits should we make to the forecast, where should we start by changing where do we start, right? We start by changing the item filter to PL45, right? Having selected the right product, we then move ahead with actually editing the forecast itself. And specifically in this case, we want to focus on September 2024, right? You can see here that's being executed on the platform. Following then the recipe, AI on the platform will ask a number of additional questions, and it explains to us the various options by which we can, for example, increase or decrease the forecast. And in this case, we'll respond with an increase of up to 8,000 units as such, right? And then as we move along, we can actually finally confirm that we also have updated the forecast for September 2024, right? Now, this gives you, to your question, Chinmay, this gives you a bit of a perspective of what the online platform looks like. but also how we're increasingly digitizing this tribal knowledge that also Sean was alluding to before, right? And although it was short, we believe it's a very powerful example. And as we extend the library of these recipes, the knowledge of how to use the platform and how to make decisions will increasingly be enriched over time. And this will also drive significant value for our customers amongst a variety of dimensions.
Thanks, Sean. That was certainly interesting, and I think anybody in audience, if they want to see more, because I've seen some of these, especially scenario planning and a lot of your other capabilities, along with this, they are very exciting. So we can definitely plan for something. So moving towards the end, right? I have two questions. So one is, if possible, you could give us like example of a customer, and a problem that you have solved in the planning area. It can be across industries. It can be in consumer industry or automotive manufacturing. We have audience coming on from all these industries. So I think that will be very interesting. And then we definitely want to know more about how are you planning for the future. So I'll come to that question, but if you could want to kind of share example of a customer for whom you have solved the problem, we would like to hear that.
Sure, so I can make a start, and then SP can add when needed. But so yeah, I think both SP and I work in the consumer products industry, so it relates most to our industry to talk about that. And as you rightly pointed out, we have coverage in not only consumer products but also in retail, distribution, apparel, and footwear, and also in the supply and industrial manufacturing space. But if you look at some of the companies we are working with, right, we have, as P already pointed out, we always try to land the leader, which means we take the largest food and beverage company in the world, and we solve the biggest challenges there. We take the largest beer company in the world, and again do the same. And if you look at some of the use cases we do there, is for that beer company, for example, we have transformed their whole planning suite from using older legacy systems that were about to be decommissioned, fully replacing that with O9, end to end. And with end to end, we mean in an integrated manner, right? So if you look at how planning was solved back in the days, there used to be a demand planning module, there used to be a supply planning module, and then there used to be a manufacturing planning or scheduling module and an inventory planning module. And all of those different modules had to be connected with one and each other. They had to be integrated, which takes a lot of time, first of all. But secondly, it's also very cumbersome to run end-to-end scenarios, because at the scale of a company that is doing 55 or 60 billion in revenues, you can think about the data. If you want to run an end-to-end scenario, that's going to be huge. So the performance is not actually allowing to do that in a user-friendly way. So O9 is solving for that problem by integrating all the different processes, right? Leveraging that digital twin of the supply chain, and then making sure that the moment, to that example I gave earlier, there is a change in your demand. Assume again, demand is going up by 10%, or for this beer company, all of a sudden, COVID was going away and all the markets started to opening up again, so the demand spiked. Can we support the demand? Yes or no? And what do we need to do it? And at what cost, right? Do we need to run additional shifts in the factory? Do we need to source additional materials from our suppliers? Those types of scenarios is what they can do right now, directly in the platform, and having answers to those questions within seconds or minutes instead of days or weeks. Maybe SP, you want to add something to that, and otherwise you can close off with some more details about O9, if you will.
Yeah, maybe just a bit on the impact, right? So we're now planning roughly or almost 80% of the global beer volumes is being planned on the O9 platform, and we'll get that to 100% actually in the next couple of quarters or so. So that's truly an end-to-end planning transformation. John already alluded to that scenarios are run much faster compared to the legacy system. You have to think about 70% faster. So that's a significant improvement also in the way then how they can actually reconfigure their process. We're looking what's very important for our customers, what we call touchless planning, right? So also there we have between 70-80% of the plans being produced is no longer touched by both the demand as well as their supply planners. So that gives you a bit of a perspective of the impact we're having with these kind of implementations.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to one question. I think we did not cover, or maybe because I kind of added one custom question in between. So, so I think it'll be interesting to for audience to know that how O9 is helping customer to get ready for for future of the supply chain, and is there anything that you are predicting or trend that you're seeing, which is going to change things in supply chain, which are always changing? But yeah, we would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I think one is we talked a lot about this transformation of tribal data to digital data, right, which we see as core to planning and decision making. So we're helping truly our customers by building up what we call industry-specific data knowledge models. Right? So how can we leverage both the data internally as well as externally and provide a richer set and continuously to enrich that as we move forward on the transformation, but also come with industry-ready data sets at the start of a transformation, right? Because we always know data is not there from day one. So that's one trend. Second is what we call around truly integrated business planning scenarios, right? So not just confined to the supply chain space, but how can you run scenarios, including the financial side of the business as well as the commercial side of the business, right? So truly end-to-end integrated business planning. And we do that with a couple of customers already. Then there's the piece around what we call hyper scenario planning, right? And truly touchless planning. So we're developing quite a lot of additional functionalities in that space. And we already discussed AI, right? Which will be a never-ending story of further improving and enhancing the capabilities that you bring from a platform perspective.
Okay, thanks, SP. Um, just in the last, if you could let our audience know on how they can get started with O9.
Now, obviously, you can email us. You can, of course, visit our website, onlinesolutions.com. We're also available for the AWS marketplace, and we have the resources, we have the interviews, we have case studies available, and of course, we have our AIM Clinics on Tour events, which we host in various cities globally every year, as well as our global digital series, which you can also, of course, you're happy to be invited to join those sessions.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, XP. Thanks for your time here, and thanks everyone who have joined this, who have seen this episode of This Is My Offer series. I hope you got the insights into O9 and how they are basically shaping the supply chain planning. And I hope you tune in for the next episode of This Is My Offer series.